Hi, I'm looking at this worksheet number 1 from our unit, and I'd like to just give instructions and go through as an example the first data set. And so our task really is to take this table of values, and we're going to use Logger Pro to sketch the graph of that table of values, and then if it's a straight line, find the slope of it. If it's not a straight line, then to linearize it, to turn it into a straight line and find that slope of the first one. And I'll show you what I mean by linearize. Well, let's take our first piece of information. We're going to read this paragraph here, and it tells us that we can assume that the first column is the independent variable and the second column is our dependent variable. So in other words, this here is my independent variable. Commonly used, so the independent variable is where the x usually goes, and the dependent variable is where the y usually goes. So my first piece of work to do is to take this information here and to put it into Logger Pro. So if I pop over to Logger Pro, you see where it says data set x and y. I'm going to double click on that data set, and I will put in that information. So the first one was volume, so I'll type in here column definition over there, volume, and the short name here will be capital V, and my units for that were meters cubed. So I'll do meters, and then there's a drop down superscript 3, so I get that nice meters cubed. Say done. And for my other one, it's a pressure in pascals. So I'll call this one, I'll double click on my Y and I'll say pressure. And the short name for that will be P. And the units pascals, PA. Did I get a capital on that? Let's try it again. PA. There we go. Let's do it that way. Say done. And you notice how nice it is. Look at this. They automatically labeled it. This is what I'm looking for in a graph. I'm looking for the name and the units in parentheses, and they've already set that up for me. So the second part would be to copy the information out. So there's the volume and there's the pressure. I'll just hit the pause here and type those in. Okay, so I've got those numbers in, and you see there's some dots here. They might be kind of faint on your screen. I'm going to double click on there, and I think I've got the options here. I'm going to say let's try it again. If I double click right on the data point, there we go, and I've got some options. I'm going to say instead of an empty circle, I'll make them a filled circle, and then it'll just show up a little bit better. There's my dots. Okay, so the first piece then we need to do is to say I need to put a sketch of that original graph here. So put in a little sketch of the graph. I'm just going to hit pause and fill it in. So just to let you know what I expect of a sketch, I'm not too worried about the actual numbers. I want to know the shape. I do want the labeled and the units in parentheses, the labeled and the units in parentheses. So my sketch, I should have something that looks approximately like that. So you'll notice I actually do have a point all the way up there, and it's got that nice curve over there. So I'll go here and I'll just do an approximation of that curve. Goes something like that. And notice I don't really need to have the numbers. I'll put a 0 there to show that that is the origin. But other than that, all I need is the general shape. So which relationship is that? So I'm going to go and take a look here. Which one does it look like? Now this is from your previous notes. And we can take a look in this and say, oh, it looks to me like this one here, doesn't it? That looks the most similar. So what I want to do to straighten the graph, to linearize the graph, instead of graphing y versus x, what this is here, instead of graphing pressure versus volume, what I'm going to graph now is pressure, y versus pressure versus 1 over volume. So I'm going to do essentially the same thing, but I'll do pressure over 1 over volume. So I'll start my sketch of the second one even before I do anything in Logger Pro. Alright, so I got the graph already, and you'll notice the difference. In our previous one I had pressure versus volume, and now I'm doing pressure versus 1 over volume. Why is that? Because here I'm graphing y versus x. Here I'm graphing y versus 1 over x. So if my original x was volume, now I'm graphing 1 over volume. Now I need to go to Logger Pro and find out what this actually looks like. So to save myself the time of saying what is 1 over 40 and 1 over 8 and all that kind of stuff, what I can do is create a new calculated column. So my new calculated column is going to be 1 over volume. So to type this in, 1 over volume is the name of it. The short name for it can be 1 over V. And my units for this are going to be 1 over meters superscript cubed, 1 over meters cubed. And my expression will be 1 over, now this is where the computer will do the work for me. I want to say 1 over volume. So what it does, it puts it in quotation marks so that it knows that it will be using 1 over that. Make a new column using that. Here's my new column right there. I got 1 over volume. So now I want pressure versus volume. I want to change this to 1 over volume. So I'm gonna is it left click? There you go, left click, and I've got some options. So currently it's volume. I want to change it to 1 over volume. Boom. Okay, I've got my lines all in a row, and you'll notice that there is a dot way over there, isn't there? It certainly looks to me like a straight line. Okay, so it's this big cluster of dots here, there's a few dots here, and there's one at the very end. Looks great. I've got a straight line. So let's go back here and plug it in. So I'm going to have a straight line. I like it. Now, in order to make my mathematical expression, let's look over here for a second. My mathematical expression is based on this y is equal to k over x, or y is equal to k times 1 over x. Now I know what my y is, I know what my x is, but I need to know what my k value is. So the k value is going to be the slope of this line. So really what I need to do is to find out here slope equals and figure out what that is. So I could do rise over run, but it is a little bit easier just to let my my computer do that for me. So if I go under Analyze and say Linear Fit, boom, there it is. Can I make this bigger so you can see? Not quite sure. Let's just see. Appearance, show uncertainty. I thought there might have been a way to make it larger. No, that just made it disappear. Let's try it again. Analyze, Linear Fit. Okay, there we go. So the slope of that is 4, and check out the units. It's 4 pascals over 1 over meters cubed. So first of all, let's go back over here, and we're going to say that the slope is equal to 4. And now I think it's important to get a sense of what that meant there. We had, and it's going to be rise over run. So the units for slope, I'll get really close to them. The units are going to be units of slope are going to be pascals, that's the rise part, over 1 over meters cubed. Now just to go back, see, this is where I'm getting it from. So pascals over 1 over meters cubed. Now when I'm dividing by this fraction, that's the same thing as pascals times the reciprocal. Dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is the same thing as that. So my units will be 4 pascals times meters cubed. And I'm going to put that in parentheses. So I'll just erase this here to make it just a bit neater. Trying to erase it. There we go. Tell you, a real eraser might work better. Now we need to get a mathematical expression. Well, if we start with the y is equal to k over x. And where do I get that? I get that from the fact that this is what we did here. We graphed, we said it was this shape. So instead of graphing y versus x, we graphed y versus 1 over x. So here is my basic shape. Now what I want to do is replace the y with, in this case it is pressure. What letter should we use for pressure? Instead of y, how about we'll make P for pressure is equal to, now what is our slope? Our slope is 4, and the units for the slope we're going to put in parentheses, pascals times meters cubed, and then divided by, and this is volume, how about V? And the units for volume is going to be, or sure, units for volume, meters cubed. Actually, I don't have to put the units there. I only need to put the units for my slope. Okay, so a couple key things to watch out for. Where can I put this? Important. Remember. Include in this mathematical expression, include units for slope and y-intercept if necessary. So the only time we have a y-intercept would be when we're doing, when we get this. Okay, if we had a graph that looks like didn't go through the origin but went through up there, we would have a b value, and then I want you to put the units for the y-intercept. So this is your answer. Okay, P is equal to 4 over V, and where that 4 has the units of pascals times meters cubed. There is your example of question number 1. I hope that was helpful.